Welcome to the Nerd Party.
I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Phillip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
And this is City Alpha 3. Welcome to City Alpha 3, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Darren Moser, joined here by my fellow Strandies on the planet City Alpha, Phillip Gilfus and Daniel Prue. Gentlemen, it's been an age and a day. Daniel, how's your rewatch going? That's what we're starting with.
Real quick.
How's it going?
I think the star is Ceti Alpha, so we're not on Ceti Alpha. That would be very hot and a little moist.
Details, Daniel.
Okay, all right,
details.
Good. So here's the thing. I did watch an episode.
One?
Well, I'm trying to do one a week.
One a week's not bad.
Well, here's
Are we still in the A's? I'm assuming.
Yes. Oh, yes, of course. Hang on, I'm pulling up the list right now. I should have had this before. I did Acquisition last week. Did I do Adversary? No, I watched Enar. The
okay.
the white
to
Enterprise.
Yes, the white Andorian episode.
I don't think we're allowed to use that word.
Yeah, Philip. It's our word. Which was interesting because of how serialized Enterprise became later on in its run. It's a little tougher to jump into than a lot of the episodic stuff I had been doing before.
Previously on Enterprise.
Exactly. But when you know enough of Star Trek, you still can jump in wherever you want to.
Mm-hmm.
More interestingly,
and also by then they weren't really doing part 1 and 2. It was more like, these three are really connected, but we're calling them all different things.
Yeah. More
So
interesting.
it's like you're not going to jump into the Best of Both Worlds part 2 by accident.
They're the Deep Space Nine approach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? It's interesting now that you talk about this because something I didn't consider when I started this alphabetical rewatch, but
I think there were a lot of things you didn't consider. That
may be the case. But the older classic style of naming two-parters, part 1 and part 2, means that I'll be able to watch those pieces together, and the newer sort of Deep Space Nine Enterprise naming scheme means I'm not going to ever be able to see a whole arc. It's going to always be a little different. So
that's true. You'll get like the Siege of AR, or whatever, like in the middle of something, and then
completely.
But like the Circle trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. Those will never be even close to each other. So
you won't be able to watch Family after Best of Both Worlds.
Oh, that's true. That's
okay.
True.
I've seen both those episodes so many times.
It'll be like a flashback. Like, remember when Picard was a Borg? Well, let's deal with that fallout.
But the more interesting thing about this rewatch, and this is actually kind of unrelated, but this is Star Trek related. So, I went a week or two ago to the 50th anniversary of that movie, which is
2001.
2001. Thank you. Oh God, I couldn't think of it. And so we got home later on that week, and I'm like, I was talking to my girlfriend. I'm like, okay, so let me show you the movie was quote unquote inspired by 2001. The Star
No,
Trek
you
movie.
did not. You didn't show her the motion picture.
I did. Well, she started watching it. And
See, I love my wife, Daniel. And
Torpedoes are.
I have told her. Well, I mean, she can do whatever she wants. If she asks, obviously I would. But I was like, you're not watching the motion picture because of me or 5. It's never gonna happen unless you ask for it.
I showed my wife 5, and she never lets me forget it. So don't.
Well,
don't
to be
do
fair,
that,
she
Daniel.
made it about 20 minutes in, and I made it about 40 minutes in.
Director's cut or no? I don't know.
Oh, just what?
If it even makes
No,
a difference.
we need like a fast cut that's like 45 minutes.
Isn't there one
and
on
it's literally
YouTube?
Just,
I swear there's something
that
exists
removes
like
all
that.
the stupid nonsense. I hope so.
where it's literally just like all from best bit to best bit, like boom, 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 boom.
Now,
It's like here's a shot of the Enterprise. Like we keep that part of the Enterprise like flying up, maybe a little fast forwarded, maybe.
well, we were talking a little bit off mic about the Toys That Made Us Netflix documentary about Star Trek, and they do mention the motion picture of like, yes, and fans are finally getting the movie that goes.
Yeah, they
real
were talking
fast.
about they did. Like they just couldn't get it right because it's like they would have toys for like 1, 3, and 5, but the movies that did well were 2, 4, and 6, and I'm like, oh man, that just Like I feel for those guys because that's
But that was they were
disappointing.
showing. Sorry, not to get off topic, listeners. They were showing some toys I've never
Star Trek.
seen.
It's all the same topic.
It was because it was in the Monster Maroon Kirk. I'm like, I've never seen
Yeah.
that line of toys.
It's stuff that I didn't. I mean, we weren't. Well, I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking about Star Trek in the early '80s.
But I mean, I've been enough conventions. I feel like I would have seen. They must have been like
Right.
a limited supply made. So I'm like, that would be cool. I like because I have like the Playmates version, but those are sort of course Generations figures or Star Trek Generations figures.
right.
So they didn't have
You
toys.
just become nurses.
Let's go.
They didn't have toys from the Undiscovered Country.
No, I think yeah.
No rubber six-toed feet or anything like that. A lot of opportunities lost there, I think. But,
Yes, there is. Anyway. Oh, but I was going to just jumping on your Best of Both Worlds reference earlier. On my other show, speaking of my wife, Time and Space, a Doctor Who podcast, we were talking about the Cybermen, which of course is very similar to the Borg, though of course they came first. But anyway, we ended up reading the graphic novel series Assimilation Squared, which is Doctor Who meets Star Trek: The Next Generation. But all that to say, in Volume 2 of the graphic novel, or in the issues if you do it separately, the Doctor, the 11th Doctor, the
best Doctor.
Rory and Amy travel back to Wolf 359.
The star.
Oh no, yeah, but anyway, they're to the Borg cube with Locutus, because they're already dealing, sort of quote unquote in the present time with Captain Picard, and because it's all about the Cybermen have teamed up with the Borg, but then
that's
have
right, this is the
assimilated them,
crossover. Okay.
and so they have to figure out whether to team up with the Borg or not, and so because blah blah, there's a subplot. But anyway, the Doctor leaves and the TARDIS and travels back to Wolf 359, and so that's kind of a cool
Do we
flashback.
see Cisco in there at all?
You know what?
We can't just leave her.
I wonder if the Saratoga was somewhere in there, but they were mostly on the Borg cube. So
So I have a quick story to tell you guys, just because
Okay.
you'll find this interesting. A friend of ours from the past, who does another Star Trek show, he works on one Trek FM, dealing with the original series. Zach Moore, he has another podcast that he does about Smallville, The Young Adventures of Superman.
somebody save.
So, and I love Smallville, as terrible and awful as it can be. So I guess on his show from time to time. So I was doing an episode, I think about last week or 2 weeks ago, and I came in, I was ready, I was riled up because I'm like, man, this lady is the worst actor I think I've seen on a television show of all time. Just terrible. Like she has 2 scenes in this episode and it's awful. And like I had notes and notes about how bad she was. Well, we started to talk about it, and she goes, "Oh, and as a Star Trek fan, Daniel, of course you recognized this woman on the show." And I'm like, no, I have no idea what I'm supposed to recognize her from. And he goes, "Oh, that's Jennifer Sisko. That's the actress that played Jennifer Sisko." And I didn't even realize it, but oh my God, on Smallville, she was so bad. She was so bad. But anyways, it was just.
I mean,
funny that-
because I've seen her range, Daniel. She can play Jennifer Sisko and Jennifer Sisko. I mean, that's a
evil
lot of
Jennifer Sisko.
Yeah, but so.
Do you think evil Jennifer Sisko eats Kelpian? Or is that too soon?
Now, are we talking about evil Jennifer Sisko that's actually a founder and is manipulating the birth of a child?
Because evil Jennifer
evil
Sisko is
what you're
actually kind of
talking about?
nice. I mean, if we're going to be honest.
That's true. It's true. Anyways,
But-
sorry about that diversion, but I just thought about that. It was
No,
funny.
that's all right.
You know what?
about
That diversion, Daniel, was wonderful.
Oh, thank you, Philip. You're making me blush.
Oh, well, I'll pick up that segue and run with it. I was going to say if there's anything else in Trek that you had done, Philip, but I think you'd rounded out in the last 10 minutes. But yes, we, it's been, May was a crazy month, and now that we're kind of moving past it, I wanted to focus on some positivity, and there's a lot of that in Star Trek. But I wanted us to kind of recount moments of Trek, and this can be from any series, any movie, except Star Trek 5. But where there was even like a sense of a sense of. I mean, it is quotable. You do give it that, but
Do you?
But
You don't have to.
dude, I quote "What does God need with the starship" like all the time.
Yeah.
That's like a
Right.
great
Well,
line.
actually, I think it's inappropriate during services, but
B for barricade. I use that one too, but anyway.
my
what
cat,
we're gonna be-
I say my cat, my wife's cat, does a lot of Star Trek V quotes as well, but it's primarily the Catwoman jumping on things. So.
Do you ever throw the cat into a very shallow thing of water?
Daniel, in case my wife listens to this podcast, the answer is no.
Excellent. Me neither. I would never.
I saw
throw-
that. I saw that wink, Daniel. I saw that wink. But yes, we're going to be talking about just like moments of wonder. And while I'm not saying that it has to be a moment that like surprised you or, but something that drew you in or that kind of was reflective of the, just kind of that spirit that Roddenberry was going for. And so I'll start off first to kind of give another example. I start off with, and now it is a little easier, I will say, to kind of feel these moments in the first season of TNG because you literally have that kind of music playing in the background all the time. Kind of that whimsical chime, like everyone's looking out into space. Like, yeah, they're holding the camera shot a little too long because they kind of need to get it going to the
Darren,
next
are we
thing.
going to talk about Wesley Cam?
Yeah, hey, actually, hey, if you want to put in your picks, Phillip, that's totally fine. But no, I was going to say just kind of the ending of Encounter at Farpoint, where you have the space jellyfish. I'm sure it's got a real name. Rising out of, the planet, and their little tendrils are touching, and
No touching.
The crew's kind of, and the crew is, just absorbing this. As it's definitely that kind of like, let's see what's out there, and I think that's even what
That's literally the end quote. Engage.
And while we all will admit that the first episode and the first seasons of Next Gen took, there are some good gems, but it definitely was still finding its footing. I think Encounter does a good job of establishing a tone of kind of what to expect. To expect a world of wonder and amazing special effects, courtesy the 80s. Mm-hmm. But that was my first pick.
Yeah, it's not even. I mean, you could just say Encounter at Farpoint because there's like
that's true.
10 different points, and that like they're kind of shoving the wonder down your throat in that episode.
Yeah. I mean, even that opening shot of Picard where he's like stepping out of the shadow, it's really intense. They're really going for it.
I mean, the holodeck, apples, bolts of cloth. I mean, it has everything.
Joy and gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Well, we just made fun of it, but I'm gonna go ahead and be that guy, and we'll say for a moment, if you're in the mood, the right mood, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Yeah, look, I know. Yeah, look, I will say it is slow and it's boring, but
at least the shots of the Enterprise when they first come onto it.
yeah, but even
like,
the Voyager cloud. And again, you got to be in the mood. I mean, I think I'll never watch it, but I mean, it'll be one of those things where I'll be like, oh no, I'm getting into it if I'm
every
watching
10-year anniversary.
Exactly. Yeah. Director's cut.
Around.
And so, but yeah. So I mean, because that sense of wonder of the Voyager cloud. Now, is it too much? Yes, it's too much. But I see what she was going for. It was trying to open up your mind to a little thing. I mean, it is sort of the point. I think is sometimes lost. Because, it's special effect, but what are we seeing? And when we are trying to see that it's Voyager's sort of iCloud. Ha ha ha. I'm funny. But anyway, it's Voyager's iCloud, literally, of planets he's discovered and things. And that's what you're seeing, or supposed to be seeing, not just nebula mist.
And I've never seen it in theaters. Have either of you seen the motion picture in theaters? Now, I mean, that would granted be a long movie, but there's also the fact that we've never experienced it on a massive movie
as it was
screen,
meant to be
sure,
seen, I guess. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure it would add even more. I mean, that was the thing that I try to put myself in that mindset of this was the first time people really saw the Enterprise, because before it's on your little 13-inch TV at home, and now here it is on like 100-foot screen in all of its glory, and I'm like, yeah, I would shed a tear for that too in the 70s.
Oh, no matter what cut I'm watching, the Enterprise porn, I will. That is a great scene. That is fine. Motion picture scene. I mean, that's great. I mean, there's no to me, like the cloud scenes of Voyager and the crew sitting there and doing nothing. That's boring. Fast forward. But the Enterprise pan, dude, I'll watch that freaking 30 minutes of that thing. Just loot that thing. I mean, it's cool.
It's like it cuts back to it cuts back.
I
to
will be
Kirk,
the guy in the jumpsuit jumping up and down.
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
It's so weird. Like,
I'll also be in the second movie doing this.
And maybe one of us should just take this as a topic and force everybody to watch the whole thing straight through.
We should do the motion picture commentary and lose all our listeners.
Jeez.
But it's so weird. Like, people like really go out of their way to apologize for the movie, and like they really stretch hard and try to find, good intentions or, but yeah, no, like, so the Enterprise scene, yeah, it is good. It's great. And for the first 50% of it. And then you're like, oh my God, can I go back to whatever was happening before?
Nope, I'm gonna take it all in.
Yeah,
Daniel.
no. Because
if you cut that scene, Daniel, we're no longer
you can
friends.
easily cut that scene and still enjoy it quite a bit.
I love it. I mean, I don't, you know what? But maybe
now I want to see an extended scene where someone edits it so it's even longer. Like it just keeps going back to shots and we're like, wait, didn't we see this shot already? Nope, who cares? It's just so beautiful.
Sort of like the TAS sort of thing where it's the same background going over and over again in the back.
Or like Monty Python, Holy Grail, where it's like he's continually
when he's running.
forward.
Oh, that's such a great.
And it's like it's slowly pulling out of space dock. Then you cut to Kirk. Then you cut back, and it's literally the exact same shot.
And it just warps at you when you least expect it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's in a time warp, and there's an asteroid.
Wormhole.
Wormhole.
Anyways,
Yeah.
but
No, I agree, Daniel. There was a renaissance of the motion picture about 2 years ago, and everyone was like, "No," I'm like, "No, it's not." But I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm not to say what other people should enjoy, but I'm just saying for myself, no. But anyway, I always say if you're in the proper mood, the motion picture can have a sense of wonder for you. So that's my pick.
Aspects of it, sure.
All right. So Daniel, what is yours?
Well, I didn't actually stray far from what Darren suggested. In fact, I jumped right to the 2 episodes afterwards, I want to say. What I thought of right away was...
the third episode of Next Gen?
Yeah.
Naked Now?
Where no one has gone before.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yes.
And by extension, I suppose the premise of Voyager, and you don't really get that same feeling like when they're transported halfway across the galaxy, like, ooh, this is cool, and like there's that moment in Where No One Has Gone Before where Picard literally says, this is amazing.
Right.
It sucks we're out here, but it's also kind of amazing because this is something
So it's like, let's keep scanning data. Like, we're never going to be here again, or we're always going to be here, one or the other.
No, it's Next Generation, Darren. They're not going to be there long.
Ooh. So yeah, it's the episode where
they're closers.
They accidentally transport to the quantum realm, and but that was cool because they were very excited to be there, and it felt like there was enthusiasm. There was obviously some trepidation, but there was enthusiasm, and it was excitement because this is an entirely new thing that we've never ever seen, and so that was the first thing that popped into my head when we started talking about it.
Yeah, because I think the challenge with that story, or at least from like if you're the SFX guy doing that, if you're ILM or whoever did it. But anyway, especially like, okay, the first kind of warp or whatever travel, you have to go to sort of like another part of the galaxy that has to look different but cool. Then you have to go even higher standard, and so it's like, okay, whatever you just did, times it by 10, and you're like, oh god, okay. But I think they did it well. I mean, because it's kind of out there, where like it has to be, sort of like Daniel got 2001 shades, perhaps. But anyway, so it has to be out there in what they're showing. But I thought they did well. Where are we? Sort of that Picard quote, I think, at one point. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think. Yeah, there were definitely a lot of good moments in the beginning of Next Gen. But another one, that I always liked was, whenever we went into like a different time, and like our characters. And I'm talking about like late 20th century Earth, because that's the time we always go to. But like when Kirk and Spock show up in the the 50s, or or just you have not just the fact that their characters are wearing different clothes, but like there's kind of that wonder sense of it's kind of the reverse. It's like now we have people from the 24th century, 23rd century back in this primitive time, and we're trying to see how they would interact with it and how would they cope with it. And I guess we wouldn't even need different uniforms in Voyager's time. It all looks the same. But I always like those moments.
Yeah, I think one thing that I thought about, and maybe I'm being too special effects heavy, so I'll take that critique as far as wonder, visual wonder. Maybe I need to be exploring other elements, but Genesis.
Genesis?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, more 2 than 3, certainly. I don't know if you can sort of have dystopian destructive wonder. I guess that would be more 3. But anyway, but 2, Genesis, and, some of the effects are, I mean, they're not bad, but, they're not as good as maybe they could be nowadays. But anyway, but I think the whole point, the Genesis cave.
Well, do you
the
mean
cave,
the Genesis?
I was going to say, certainly.
Yeah.
I was going to say, did you mean the Genesis, like, promo video where they're explaining it, or the actual
Yeah, the
formation of
promo
the
video,
planet?
like any architect, the drawing is going to look a little bit different than what it looks like in real life, and it's probably going to be a few years later. But anyway, but yes. No, I did the Genesis cave, and that sort of thing of, of the possibilities, as your teacher, Mr. Spock, is so fond of saying.
Can I cook or what?
Yeah, I mean, and then that whole life from lifelessness, and it's certainly, I don't know if we really focus it enough in Star Trek 2, because obviously there's so much going on, but taking sort of that breath of like, this is kind of cool. And then even the end where with the Genesis bomb, that's not what you call it, but anyway. But
That's not what you call it.
The Genesis torpedo.
That's what
that's what it's called.
Klingons call it.
Yeah, torpedoes away. And that creation of the planet, and then you sort of do get that cool sort of scene there, and then of course you get the Spock coffin, and then like, I see what you're doing. But anyway,
Life from lifelessness.
it's a far better thing that I do. Anyway, but yeah, so Genesis.
Genesis was always good, and I mean, I guess it's not really wonder, but emotion. I mean, when you have Star Trek 2 and you have like the bagpipes at the end, and it's just everyone's like, "Oh, I'm not crying, you're crying. Spock dies."
It's really interesting
Amazing
that
Grace.
when you think of Star Trek 2, first thing you think of is Khan. The
Right.
Reliant stuff. It feels like a much smaller in scope film, but then you remember that whole Genesis element of it, and it's like, oh yeah, there's definitely big elements to the story as well.
Mm-hmm. And then, not to squeeze in another one, but just since we're in this era, and again, maybe
Don't say David.
No, I was gonna say, and this might be, I don't know if this is wonder, but I just remember having that sort of sense of something, and that's when not the destruction of the the big E, the Enterprise, but anyway, not the destruction of the Enterprise, but when it's falling from the sky. Moment,
and the moment where he's like, "My God, what have I done?"
I mean, there's sort of this sense of wonder, in as much it's this sort of life from lifelessness. I mean, it's the whole sort of message of Star Trek 3, of course. Yeah, death. I mean, they literally say it out loud in case you miss it. But anyway, but I mean, it is because
they had to be a little on the nose back then, Phillip.
Yeah,
you never knew.
But I mean, because I think the explosion of the saucer is sort of like, well, oh, that's not good. And then sort of after that, it's just the model against the CGI does not work when it's sort of like launching at you. I was like, okay. But anyway, but that sky scene is very stands up well, I think, as far as and then you have McCoy perhaps channeling Spock, who is carrying the katra of talking to Kirk. So there's a lot in that moment.
Well, and I'd say he's channeling Spock, but he's also kind of channeling that bartender doctor, where it's like he's not talking as a doctor, he's talking as his friend and someone who knows him really well and knows what he's probably feeling. Because I mean, we've seen tons of episodes before that moment where Kirk is talking about what the ship means to him, And even though it looks a little different, it's been refitted, it's still that ship to him.
Well, Kirk doesn't have to worry because it's coming back exactly the same way in the next movie, so he doesn't have... sorry, I don't mean to take...
No, it's true.
Yep.
But with an A.
It would be more impactful if it didn't get its teeth ripped out from it. But anyways, that's fine.
Oh, so you'd rather like it be the B? That would be interesting. All of a sudden they're like, we had this ship for one movie and now we're on the B.
Well, or they didn't change the original design, or they didn't severely change the original design like they did.
I think if they actually, that makes me think the only way you could have ratcheted it up even more is if they hadn't done like you were saying, they hadn't done the refit, and it's literally the one from the show that burns up, and then we get the A.
Oh, and then you're like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, like it's because the A is close enough that it's like, okay, that was the one that was being built next. Like that's an upgrade, and then we never have the refit. It just goes straight from the 01 to. It
hurts my head. I can't even remember. Was the A being built from scratch? I don't think so.
Well, I think. Well, it's not canon. It's
probably another refit of a Constitution.
Yeah, it's like that was supposed to be. I mean, this is all fanon. That it was the that it was the Yorktown, and then they smacked the Enterprise A on there.
Wouldn't that be tremendously disrespectful of the people?
No,
whoa, Daniel, you mean it would be disrespectful to take a ship that already has a name on it and then rename it for a ship that just got blown up? Yes, so Paulo, that would suck, wouldn't it?
Well, and then you also have it happen with the Enterprise E. I mean, that started development as a different sovereign ship, and then you have the destruction of the D, which wasn't obviously planned,
wasn't it?
And then
that feels more early. That feels way more early on. Like it's not like they, it would be the equivalent of them zooming away.
No, I totally see what you're saying. It's like the Yorktown's having its like bottle breaking ceremony in 2 weeks, and then the captain gets called into the admiral's office, and he's like, "Well, Bob, that's a bad news."
No. I have great news. I have great news. Look, you don't want one of these Constitution class vessels.
I know you've been eyeing that Oberth class science vessel, and boy, I got like 20 of them. Space talk.
This is how the scene goes.
Now it's totally headcanon that the captain of the Oberth science vessel in Star Trek, was that 2?
No, 3. The Grissom.
Oh, in Star Trek 3 was the original captain of the Yorktown after it got bumped up.
This is how the scene goes. The admiral invites the captain and he goes, "Listen, I got some good news for you. I got some bad news for you. Good news is your ship is now the Enterprise. That's pretty awesome. Bad news is you're fired and so are all your friends, and you can't be on it anymore." So
no. I like how
bad news is
he lets it
no longer your ship.
He lets it land. You're the Enterprise, so you're now captain of the Enterprise. They just sit there for a second. Okay, but we're bringing Kirk in, of course. I mean, duh. But
I mean, you can't have a ship
an Enterprise without Jim Kirk at the helm.
It's in the Federation Charter. Archer got that put in somehow. Jeez. No, but it's totally my headcanon now that captain of the Yorktown is now the captain of the Grissom. Total demotion down. He's like, how I can't. You know what? Captain's log started whatever. I haven't seen the other half of my ship in weeks. I don't know how to get there. I cannot find how to get to the other section. It's just not happening. So that was funny.
So Wonder, Darren, what do you got?
Wonder. Well,
Tony Wonder.
I was.
Oh my goodness.
It was. I remember one of the opening scenes in First Contact when we get that really big pull-out shot from Picard's eye through the Borg cube, and you just keep going and going and going, and it's like that was. I mean, I remember seeing that in theaters, and I'm like, this is amazing because we'd never seen. I mean, we'd just seen like a tiny hallway set and a matte painting, And that matte painting is what they always cut to when it's like the Borg talking. It's like, oh yeah, they're here in this central alcove, But that's where they install the speakers, I guess. But
because that was to me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm easy, but that was like a real movie experience. Of course, it was my first Star Trek movie in a theater, so I mean that's just me.
That was my second. I saw Generations.
Yeah, but I mean, because the sound, and even watching it at home, I think they still have it there.
That
Those sound, because it's coming from here and there with the Borg sounds and the moving and the whirring and the zhzh, and then sort of the waking up, shink, and you sort of get that silence of the nightmare. But,
and then you get the spider jump, the jump scare.
yes.
But yeah, so anyway, that was I always liked that shot. I mean, I always felt bad like when it cut to him getting assimilated. I'm like, no, I just stay on this shot. Like, you could stay on a cloud for 20 minutes, but we can't stay on a shot of the beautiful inside of a Borg cube for like more than 30 seconds. No.
So
okay.
I'm torn.
Star
guys.
Trek, you've changed.
I'm torn
Okay.
because this conversation is literally directly connected to two other moments that I wanted to talk about.
All right.
Okay.
So do we want to talk about the Borg related stuff, or do we want to talk about the first contact related stuff?
I feel like that's the same. So
Both.
let's go Borg.
Just start with however you want.
I'll go Borg. I vote Borg.
We'll do Borg. So I was going to bring up Q Who / Best of Both Worlds.
Ooh.
Okay.
Because
Is that a Tumblr page?
I think it is. Yeah.
Underscore.
Because there is a sense of wonder. Of course, it's also a sense of foreboding and danger and death and
dread.
destruction. But it was such a well constructed villain at that point, and we didn't know what they were capable of, but we just knew that they were just steamrolling us, and it was.
And even with Q explaining, you still didn't know anything really.
It's kind of funny to watch that Q Who again, because you're like, no, Count, what are you doing, guys? I mean, that's what Guinan is telling them, but
Yeah.
Picard's like, nah, I'll shake their hand, it'll be fine.
Are you talking about like kind of that first shot where it's like it's coming after them and you have that eerie music and it's
I mean,
like,
really, the whole. It's the feeling. It's the vibe of the whole thing. Like even with Q, the omnipotent, all-powerful thing, and he's like, he's like, you probably shouldn't. You guys probably shouldn't have just done that.
don't provoke the Borg.
And this was, of course, before we knew so much about them, so it was easier for them to be more intimidating. But it was still played so well that you did get this sense, like Q says, you're gonna get your nose bloodied, man. Like you can't expect to just go out there. It is a sense of wonder because you're struck back from your like arrogance that you can just go out and do anything you want, and you still, it's a kind of a knockback to reality for you.
That is and again, just to highlight that Q speech or sentence or whatever, at the end of that, I think is so great about Star Trek, because I know a lot of times TNG or even all of Star Trek can be accused, well, not Discovery maybe, but anyway, of being too Pollyanna. But I think that Q speech there is that, as you say, wonders, but it's also not for, people are gonna die. That's the thing.
Right.
So you got to be able to do both. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I would say, like, kind of talking back to Doctor Who, like you were talking about the Cybermen earlier,
Mm-hmm.
Philip. I feel like the Cybermen have done a better job of retaining that sphere because they are so dehumanized. Whereas, in a way, the Borg, as we progressed with them, and especially into Voyager, like, they became so humanized. Like, you had individuals, and you had the Queen, and all of that. Like, I think if they had just kept it as this, all speak, faceless, ignoring you, never stopping villain, that would have, maintained its allure a little more.
The one thing I think that the improvement or the evolution of the Borg, I mean, just due to effects and makeup and all that I do like.
Their look improving was great.
Yeah, because I think when you can see the people, as opposed to just, people in white makeup.
Dives suit
androgynous white makeup person with metallic, because when you can see the people, the human or the Klingon or the whatever, who that was, but that's not who they are anymore. That's kind of the scariest part of the Borg, because you can see those sort of walking zombies, whatever.
Just an interesting point now that we're paralleling. Is that a proper verbiage? I don't know, but anyways, the Borg with the Cybermen. Is there no like version of Hugh? Is there no like Brian in
there's Handel.
Oh, Handles. Well, I think that was just the head that he made. Yeah. Well, because I mean, even Danny.
I haven't seen that.
Well, you haven't seen a lot of 12 Daniel. So there's Danny Pink, I mean, I don't want to spoil stuff, but anyway.
Wait, is he the bald guy?
No. He's Clara's boyfriend. But anyway, there's some, and then there's Bill, who I know again spoils. I don't want to spoil all this stuff because you're gonna watch it. But anyway, there are people in Doctor Who get assimilated, for lack of a better word, and that's sort of the human element. I think the story of which is the story of Locutus, of course, and Jean-Luc.
Yeah.
Can you fight the assimilation?
Right.
And so
So do we smell a crossover episode here where we talk all about Cybermen and
well, if you want to listen to that Time and Space coming out a few days ago, we'll mention the Borg and Cybermen.
Oh, okay, all right.
So,
all right.
yes, it's
We get it, Philip. You have another podcast.
I know, and you can listen to it and realize how much I love my wife by how much Star Trek stuff she mispronounces, and I don't go crazy. It took me a good 5 minutes to correct me from her keep saying Borgs. I'm like,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh no.
We're still married though. It's all right.
What was that second thing?
Yeah, you
wanted
said
to
First
speak on,
Contact, Daniel.
Oh yes, of course. And Star Trek obviously does this a whole lot, but I'm specifically thinking of Zephram Cochrane's response when he goes nowhere. Well, he's in space as soon as the first time he goes into space,
Right.
and he's like, "Oh my god!" It's like yeah, obviously. You have this whole historical fact versus fiction, heroes versus real people element going on.
But it's still a big deal.
But no, exactly. And this is kind of where you first sense, up until that point, Cochrane is he's a joke. He's a joke of a character. But you can tell he just encountered a life-changing event in that moment when he leaves the atmosphere and he's like, oh my God, this is real. And a lot of the whole early Enterprise stuff about Cochrane, about leaving, about going out there, that attitude, and I think Enterprise failed, unfortunately, on that front more than it really succeeded, but I think it had the earnest intentions of that early exploration feeling of like going out there and like we're just doing this because we can now. Like it's
Right.
And it's so optimistic and it's so wonderful.
Captain, because it is there, is not a...
Well, it's interesting, Daniel, because it makes me think of the real world effect called the overview effect, which is, by its definition, it's a cognitive shift in awareness reported by astronauts and cosmonauts during space flight, often when viewing the Earth from orbit or the lunar surface. And it's kind of this, just by that perspective change of seeing the entire Earth in your field of view, or or continents without borders, because you don't see those on from space, and it does change your perspective. And I love that. Yeah, I totally understand that moment you're talking about, Daniel, where from that moment on he has that sense of wonder,
Mm-hmm.
and it only compounds when he meets the Vulcans. But he's coming back and he's like, wow, like I was literally just doing this for the money, but
and the women.
And the women.
Yeah, and what you're talking about, Darren, and I'll just touch on this real quick because it's so relevant. But yeah, like obviously astronauts are the people who clearly have this effect, but
them being the ones actually going,
and being the ones that can actually see all these things, but. This is distilled perfectly, and I'm a massive fan of Carl Sagan, and like everything we're talking about right now is in. He wrote a book called Pale Blue Dot, but it's been condensed into this kind of short form. I think it was his introduction, talking about the image. I think that the Voyager took. Not Voyager yet. The Voyager took when it was leaving the solar system. And seriously, if you've never heard this, go on YouTube right now. Look up Pale Blue Dot speech by Carl Sagan or Sagan. I can never get that straight. But seriously, look it up. It's amazing. It is so beautifully written. He was a treasure, a wonderful human being, and perfectly encapsulates exactly what we're talking about. And I mean, this will definitely give you a sense of wonder. It is absolutely fantastic. And he I think you read it when he was filming Cosmos, and it'll bring a tear to your eye. It does to me every single time I watch it. It's so amazing.
Well, I remember,
yeah,
and not to be
really
like
good.
political or anything, but like I know when Al Gore would give his talks about inconvenient truth and all that he would talk about that one shot from Voyager, and I according to him, I mean, not that I don't believe it, that was sort of the beginning or the impetus for the modern environmental movement. But it's like you were saying, because once you see the whole Earth, you're like, like Zephyr Cochrane says, we're so small. And so,
we're on this tiny world in the middle of nothing, and that's all we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. I think.
Right. Well, any other moments of wonder?
Well, I was trying to think because
I mean, we've been talking about the Borg a lot for this moment of wonder episode.
But to pick up on what we're kind of talking about with Enterprise, so like when I thought the challenge in Star Trek First Contact with the first warp flight was to make warp seem, oh my god, when we're like, yeah, no, we've seen that effect before. Like we're going into warp, like, yeah, I know, no, we've seen that.
Yeah.
But I, and whether it works or not is up to the viewer, because you're like, yeah, Star Streaking, I've seen it. But like you said, Daniel, the Enterprise challenge, is doing sort of the Star Trek the right stuff. Going out there for the first time, and I think the Archer character tries to have that sense of wonder and the naivete and what we've talked about before. And I don't know, I like you said, I don't think it quite gets there, and I don't know why. I don't know. I'm trying to think what would be a better suggestion. Like maybe if it was more baby steps, as they had Berman and company had wanted to do it, instead of just like, yeah, we're in space now, first episode, warp 5, let's go. And there's Klingons, but if it had been maybe a little bit more baby step, more sense of wonder, if we're going out there and this is the humans taking their first step into the interstellar community, how to get that. Of course, it's again, and I know something we've talked about before and before. It's hard to get that sense of wonder when it's a prequel and we know everything. If we was literally seeing it for the first time, we're like, yeah, but it's like, no, yeah, Klingons, we got it. We've seen it. So
yeah, no, it's because warp. Yeah, they try to do that a lot with that kind of right stuff feel and the first flight and things like that. But it's tricky because for us it's still amazing, but for the people in Star Trek it's like, oh, I put gas in my car and drove somewhere. Like this is nothing.
It's almost like setting things behind the time when you've already seen things in the future is very problematic and can be difficult. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But.
Well, and I think at the same time there's ways to do it, because I think there's lots of historical either dramas or historical documentaries that can still bring,
historical documents.
Yeah. But like, and again, this is going to be a very Phillip thing, but I'm going to go ahead and drop this card. Hamilton, this great, huge musical. Everyone knows the ending. Hamilton gets shot by Burr. Like, that. That's probably the only thing you know. But you go see that show, and you're in there. You're in that story. And so, but of course there's a lot of things going on why you're into that story. But anyway, there's lots of historical documentaries or dramas, whether it's a Ken Burns thing or whatever. There's a million examples. But like Star Trek, you can tell a story where the ending, but still have the audience, engaged and on the edge of their seats. But so I agree with you, Daniel, on your prequel critiques, but it could be done. You just have to know how to do it.
We don't need to get into that because we could get into that. But
yeah, no, neither here, no there, no everywhere. All right. Well, if you have some wondrous moments, definitely feel free to reach out to us. You could reach the network on Twitter under Join Nerd Party, or if they wanted to send a wondrous message to you, Phillip, where would they find you online?
They can find me here. They can find me there. Hey, now I'm on Twitter. My handle is NC Public Servant, and they can send me all the wonderful things in all of time and space.
And Daniel, if the Wonder Years needs to be brought up at all, where would they message you?
If I say?
See, I love the Wonder Years. But I grew up on Boy Meets World, so I'm more of a Ben Savage guy than a Fred Savage guy.
Wow!
But,
oh wow! Good. 10 points for
Boy Meets. Well, he's Ravenclaw clearly, but anyway, Boy Meets Wonder.
But anyways, you can find me on Twitter, and you can argue with me about which Savage is better if you want to.
That's going to be a savage discussion.
You could find me there at OneUpDan. That's the number one, not the word.
And if someone wanted to talk about the wonder of any kind of science fiction, as it is a wondrous genre, they can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram under username Dr. Sci-Fi, DRSCIFI. Philip, what are we going to be talking? Is it Doctor Who? It feels like it's going to be Doctor Who.
Well, it always is, whether you know it or not. Look, I mean, it's another 50-year plus franchise. So, but anyway, no, I thought what would we talk about next week? Sort of an interesting discussion like we had today, and that's spin-offs. Now, look, every series of Star Trek is technically really just a spin-off of Star Trek, but I kind of just want to go through every series and just, in a vacuum, it's like space, but in a vacuum of take each series and what would be your spin-off pitch.
Okay.
So like the O'Brien Show or something.
Well, it's called Deep
like
Space
that.
Nine, Darren. There are 7 seasons. But yes, we'll take each series
Plotter's
and
Tales.
exactly,
Like that?
what you would do. So yeah, that's going to be our, which is very Doctor Who, because we talked Torchwood and Sarah Jane Adventures and all that stuff in Doctor Who, and Class, which that exists. But anyway, yeah, it's talking about spin-offs of Star Trek pitches.
In the elevator or turbulent.
That's right. My Uber shuttlecraft's coming. Give me your Star Trek spin-off pitch.
All right. Well, I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
Stranded here on the sun of City Alpha.
Oh my God!
ow,
It's so
ow,
hot.
It's okay, guys. We'll just go there at night.
Oh.
I have sunglasses.